A wake-up call in today's love. Have you noticed how fragile love feels today? You match with someone on a dating app, you talk for days, even weeks. And then one morning, you wake up to silence. No explanation, no closure, just gone. Or maybe you're in a relationship, but instead of feeling secure, you find yourself anxiously checking their online status, scrolling through their stories, analyzing every emoji, every pause between replies, wondering if they're drifting away. This is the reality of love in our time. On the surface, we live in an age of infinite choice. Dating apps promise us endless matches. Social media tells us that everyone else is in love, traveling, laughing, kissing in golden light. But beneath it all, many people are lonelier than ever. Carl Jung's words strike with brutal clarity here. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. And if what you are deep inside is anxious, wounded, and starved for validation, no matter how many dates you go on, no matter how many likes or matches you get, you will keep attracting people who reflect that lack, people who repeat the cycle of ghosting, disappointment, and unworthiness. This is not bad luck. This is not destiny playing a cruel joke. This is the unconscious at work. Here's the hard truth. The problem is not out there, it is in here. The good news, that means the solution is in here too. Because when you begin to love yourself enough, not in a shallow, selfie confidence way, but in a real, grounded, everyday way, something changes. You stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop performing for attention. And suddenly, the kind of love you attract changes as well. That's what we'll explore today. Why loving yourself deeply, through boundaries, through healing, through becoming whole, is the only way to attract not just any partner, but the right partner. So, if you've ever asked yourself, why do I keep attracting the same kind of relationship? Why does love always feel like suffering? Stay with me, because by the end of this journey, you'll see that the love you are searching for is not in someone else's words or actions. It is in the energy you carry every single day. And the moment that energy shifts, the right person doesn't just appear, they resonate. Part 1. Love born from need in the digital age. We often call it love. But if we're honest, much of what we experience today is not love. It's need dressed up in the costume of romance. Think about it. You match with someone on Tinder or Bumble. The conversation flows for a while, you feel excited, you imagine possibilities. Then they suddenly disappear, ghosted, no closure, no reason. And what do? You immediately start asking yourself, what did I do wrong? Was I not funny enough, not attractive enough, not worth their time? That spiral isn't love, it's a wound being triggered. Or picture this, you're already in a relationship. You care deeply, you want it to work. But every time they don't reply quickly enough, every time they sound distant, your chest tightens. You start checking their last scene, analyzing their likes on Instagram, scrolling through their comments to see if someone else has their attention. That's not love either, that's fear. Carl Jung would call this identification with the wound. You're not relating to the other person as they are. You're relating to them as if they hold the power to heal or to reopen the very wound you've never healed yourself. And this is the trap of modern relationships, because technology magnifies it all. In the past, when someone didn't call, you just didn't hear from them. Now, when someone doesn't reply, you can see them online. You can see them active on WhatsApp, posting memes, liking someone else's story, and suddenly, their silence isn't neutral, it's loaded. It feels like rejection. The truth is, much of modern dating is not about two people genuinely meeting each other. It's about two unconscious wounds colliding. One person is starving for validation, the other is avoiding intimacy. One clings, the other withdraws, and both call it love. But love born from need is not love. It's emotional bargaining. I will give you attention, care, and even parts of myself. If only you will give me back the sense of being worthy. It feels passionate at first, like intensity, like chemistry, like we just click. But the foundation is sand. And the moment the other person pulls away, the moment they don't perform as your emotional crutch, everything collapses. This is why so many people today confuse anxiety with attraction. That heart-racing, stomach-flipping feeling when someone texts back after hours. That's not always romance. Sometimes it's your nervous system responding to the hope that maybe this time, finally, someone will stay. But if that's the pattern, if every new relationship feels like a repeat of the last, then Jung's warning applies. It's not bad luck. It's the unconscious repeating itself until you become conscious. Look around at our culture. Breakups happen on Monday, and by Friday, someone is back on the apps, lining up dates, rushing to fill the void. Influencers post glow-up photos, pretending they're thriving while inside they're still broken. Songs and movies glamorize toxic cycles as passionate love. We keep calling it love, but it's not. It's need, it's hunger, it's a refusal to sit with our own emptiness, so we demand someone else fill it for us. And the cost? We end up addicted to relationships that aren't relationships at all, just cycles of hope and disappointment, passion and withdrawal, temporary highs followed by deeper crashes. Love born from need will always end this way, because it doesn't come from freedom, it comes from fear, and anything born from fear will eventually collapse under its own weight. Part 2. Projection in the Era of Filters. Carl Jung once said, "The best political, social, and spiritual work we can do is to withdraw the projection of our shadow onto others." And if there is one place where this wisdom is most needed today, it is in modern love. Because we no longer just meet people, we meet versions of people. We meet their filtered faces on Instagram, their curated profiles on Tinder, their witty texts on WhatsApp. We fall in love not with them, but with the image they project and the image we want to see. This is projection, amplified by technology. Think about it. You see someone's carefully posed photo, golden light, travel shots, captions about living their best life. Instantly, your mind fills in the blanks. You imagine them as confident, adventurous, maybe even soulful. But do you know that for sure? Or are you projecting your unconscious ideal of love onto their digital mask? Dating apps are the perfect breeding ground for this. A few pictures, a few lines of text, and we think, this is it, this is the one, they're perfect. But perfection is a projection. It's not the person, it's your inner archetype finding a temporary canvas to play itself out. Jung explained this with the concepts of anima and animus, the unconscious feminine in men and the unconscious masculine in women. These archetypes shape our inner image of the ideal partner. And when we meet someone who even slightly resembles that inner image, we feel it instantly. Destiny, sparks, chemistry. But is it love? Or is it the unconscious recognizing itself? In today's world, projection doesn't just happen, it multiplies. With filters, edits, captions, we literally manufacture personas. And so, when you fall in love, are you falling for the person or for the projection you've placed on them? Think about the last time you had a crush on someone you barely knew, maybe a coworker or even a stranger online. Without real conversations, without seeing them on their bad days, your mind created a whole narrative, their kindness, their depth, their soul. And then, reality hit. They were human, flawed, ordinary. The illusion collapsed, and you felt betrayed, not because they deceived you, but because your projection couldn't hold. This is why so many relationships today start with fireworks and end in ashes. Because projection is intoxicating. It feels like destiny. But when the fog lifts, you're left with the truth. You didn't love them. You loved your idea of them. And here's the painful part. When the illusion breaks, we don't pause to reflect. We jump to the next person, ready to project all over again. New name, new face, same pattern. Scroll TikTok for 5 minutes and you'll see endless posts like, "Why do I always fall for emotionally unavailable men? Why do I attract women who only want to use me?" The answer isn't luck, it isn't fate, it's projection. It's your unconscious pulling you toward the exact lessons you need to face. The truth? We don't love people as they are. We love the parts of ourselves they awaken. We love the mirror they hold up to our wounds, our desires, our forgotten selves. So in this era of filters and projections, Jung's wisdom cuts through the noise. You don't just meet someone randomly. You meet the exact reflection of what your unconscious is broadcasting. Which means, if you want to change who you attract, you can't just change your profile picture. You can't just write a better bio. You must go deeper. You must change the story inside. Part 3. The energy of lack in modern relationships. Let's be brutally honest. Most people today are not looking for love. They're looking for relief. Relief from loneliness. Relief from emptiness. Relief from that gnawing fear that says, maybe I'm not enough. And so relationships are born, not from fullness, but from lack. Think about how this shows up in daily life. You send a message, and the person doesn't reply for a few hours. Your chest tightens, your mind races. You check their last scene, you watch their stories, you replay the last thing you said. By the time they finally text back, you've gone through a whole storm of anxiety. That's not love, that's lack disguised as attachment. Or picture someone who just went through a breakup. Instead of sitting with their grief, instead of asking, what can I learn from this pain, they rush to download a dating app. They line up new matches, new conversations, new distractions. They think they're moving on, but really they're running from themselves. Carl Jung warned us clearly, what you do not make conscious will control you. And lack, the desperate craving for someone to complete you, is one of the strongest unconscious forces in modern relationships. It shows up in little ways, double texting, then triple texting. Not because you want connection, but because you need reassurance. Forgiving too quickly, even when you're hurt, because the thought of being alone terrifies you. Staying in toxic situations, convincing yourself at least it's something, because the silence of being single feels unbearable. This is the energy of lack, and it radiates. You don't have to say it out loud. Others can sense it in the way you linger too long, wait too eagerly, laugh too loudly at their jokes, or over-apologize just to keep the peace. It's invisible pressure, and pressure pushes people away. Look at social media. How many TikToks, reels, or posts are just thinly veiled cries for validation? How to make him miss you? Signs she's losing interest. Do this to win her back. This content thrives because millions of people are operating from the same wound, the wound of lack. And the irony, the more you chase love from lack, the more it slips away. Because real love requires space, freedom, presence, and lack suffocates all of that. Jung once said, where there is desire, there is bondage. Not desire as in passion, but desire as in need. The belief that, if you are not here, I am nothing. This is why so many modern relationships burn out. At first, it feels intense. You're constantly in touch, constantly reassuring, constantly performing. But over time, the weight of your need becomes heavy. The other person pulls away, not because you're unworthy, but because no one can carry the responsibility of making another person whole. And here's the hardest truth. When you don't love yourself, you don't just love the wrong way, you see the wrong people. Because the unconscious energy of lack doesn't just cling to anyone, it seeks out partners who confirm the very belief that you're not enough. That's why someone with abandonment wounds keeps attracting distant lovers. That's why someone with low self-worth keeps ending up with partners who don't value them. It's not fate, it's frequency. Think of it like Wi-Fi. Whatever signal you're broadcasting unconsciously is the exact signal that others pick up. If you're radiating anxiety, fear, and desperation, you'll attract people who either exploit it or mirror it back. But if you're radiating calm, presence, and wholeness, you'll attract people who live from the same place. So the question is not, how do I make someone love me? The question is, what energy am I bringing into love? Because if love feels like endless chasing, panicking, or bargaining, it's not love, it's lack. And until you face that lack inside yourself, every relationship will just be the same story, with different characters. Part 4. Individuation in the age of self-help. Today, everywhere you look, the phrase self-love is trending. It's on Instagram posts with pastel backgrounds. It's in TikTok reels with calming music and captions like, "Remember to love yourself first." It's in books, podcasts, workshops, an entire industry built around the promise of self-care. But Carl Jung's idea of individuation goes much deeper than a hashtag. Individuation is not about buying yourself flowers or taking bubble baths. It's not about treating yourself to comfort food after a breakup. Those things might soothe you for a moment, but they don't transform you. Individuation is about confronting the raw, unfiltered truth of who you are. Not just your strengths, but also your shadows. Not just the parts you're proud of, but the wounds you've tried to bury. It's the lifelong process of becoming whole. And in today's world, this journey is more urgent than ever. Because think about what modern culture teaches us: to hide our loneliness behind busy schedules, to cover our wounds with curated feeds and filtered smiles, to seek quick fixes, new matches, new likes, new trends, whenever emptiness arises. But Jung's individuation asks us to do the opposite, to pause, to turn inward, to sit with the very silence we're desperate to escape. Imagine this. Instead of rushing back to Tinder after a breakup, you log off. Instead of filling every gap with scrolling or binge-watching, you sit in stillness, even if it feels unbearable. Instead of numbing yourself with distractions, you ask, what wound is this pain trying to show me? What part of myself have I abandoned? That is individuation in the age of self-help. It's not glamorous. You won't see many influencers posting about sitting alone with their grief. It doesn't get as many likes as vacation photos or relationship highlights, but it's the work that matters most. Take an example. A woman who, as a child, was emotionally neglected, not abused, not mistreated outwardly, but ignored, her feelings invisible, her needs unmet. As an adult, she finds herself overgiving in relationships, always being the nice one, always swallowing her emotions to keep the peace. From the outside, she looks like the perfect partner, patient, forgiving, kind. But inside, she's terrified of abandonment. Without individuation, she keeps repeating the cycle, attracting partners who take and take, because unconsciously she believes she must prove her worth to be loved. Only when she turns inward, journaling, therapy, honest reflection, does she realize, this is not love, this is survival. This is my inner child begging not to be left alone again. Individuation is the moment she stops betraying herself to keep someone else. It's when she dares to set boundaries, to say no, to risk being left, so she can finally stop leaving herself. In today's age, individuation might mean logging off social media when you realize comparison is poisoning your self-worth, practicing intentional solitude instead of chasing constant distraction, facing your loneliness directly without blaming others to soothe it, integrating your shadow, admitting your jealousy, your fear, your anger, and learning that they don't make you unlovable, they make you human. This is not the kind of self-love you can buy in a store. It's not instant, it's not pretty, but it's the foundation of everything. Because until you've individuated, until you've faced yourself, you'll keep outsourcing your wholeness to someone else. You'll keep handing the keys to your worth over to the next partner, the next crush, the next digital stranger who happens to match your archetype. And here's the paradox. When you finally stop chasing, when you stop begging others to make you whole, that's when you begin to radiate the energy that attracts the right person. Not because you need them, but because you've already found yourself. Part 5. From chaser to attractor. For most of us, love begins with chasing. We chase attention. We chase validation. We chase that intoxicating feeling of being chosen. It feels natural because it's what we see everywhere. Songs, movies, social media, they all romanticize the chase. The late-night texts, the obsessive longing, the anxiety that somehow gets labeled as chemistry. But let's be honest, chasing rarely leads to lasting love. At best, it creates intensity. At worst, it creates obsession. And obsession is not the same as intimacy. Carl Jung's wisdom reminds us, what you are seeking is also seeking you, but only if you stop chasing from a place of lack and start radiating from a place of wholeness. So, how do you move from chaser to attractor? Step 1. Recognize the energy you emit. We live in a hyper-connected world. You don't need to say, "I'm desperate," for people to feel it. They pick it up in the way you text too fast, wait too anxiously, or demand reassurance too often. Energy doesn't lie. And when your energy says, "I need you to complete me," most people, consciously or unconsciously, pull away. But when your energy says, "I am whole, I am calm, I am myself," you become magnetic. Not because you're trying harder, but because you're needing less. Step 2. Stop running, start sitting. Look at dating culture today. Break up on Monday, download 3 apps on Tuesday, line up a date for Wednesday. It's a cycle of running. Running from pain, from silence, from loneliness. But attraction doesn't come from running. It comes from rootedness. It comes from the person who dares to sit with their loneliness until it transforms into solitude. Who dares to stop scrolling, stop swiping, stop numbing, and instead asks, "Who am I really when there's no one else here?" That kind of presence can't be faked. And it's the very thing that makes someone deeply attractive in a world drowning in masks. Step 3. Redefine love itself. Love in the age of lack says, "I need you to prove my worth. I need you to stay so I won't feel empty. I need you to fix the holes in my heart." But love in the age of wholeness says, "I want to share my fullness with you. I choose you, not because I need you, but because I enjoy you. I can stand on my own 2 feet, and that's why I can walk with you." Do you feel the difference? One is heavy, the other is light. One suffocates, the other liberates. The shift happens quietly. You won't wake up one morning and suddenly become magnetic, but little by little, as you stop chasing texts, as you stop checking their stories obsessively, as you stop giving your energy to people who don't give it back, something changes. Your posture changes, your tone of voice changes, your presence changes, and others will notice. They won't know why they feel drawn to you, they'll just sense it, because wholeness has a frequency of its own. Closing the transformation. So here's the paradox of modern love. The moment you stop chasing it is the moment it finds you. When you no longer beg for attention, you start radiating calm. When you no longer sacrifice yourself to be chosen, you start choosing from a place of strength. When you no longer fear being alone, you begin to attract people who are whole within themselves too. And that's the love worth waiting for. 2 people, 2 souls. Not grasping, not clinging, not bargaining, but choosing. Every single day. Because love born from wholeness doesn't need to prove itself. It simply is. So, let's step back for a moment. We began with the fragility of love today. The ghosting, The anxiety, the endless scrolling, the cycles of hope and disappointment. We saw how love born from need always collapses, how projections in the era of filters blur reality, how the energy of lack silently pushes others away, and how individuation, Jung's call to wholeness, is the only foundation for true connection. And finally, we discovered the transformation from chasing, begging, and clinging to radiating, attracting, and choosing. This is not just a theory, it is a lived journey. And it begins always with you. Because the love you're searching for will never be found in someone else's validation. It will never be sustained by someone else's presence. It comes when you no longer need it to complete you. Carl Jung said, "Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries." And that is the work we are called to do in our time. Not to chase perfect partners, but to integrate the broken, hidden, wounded parts of ourselves until we stand whole. And from that wholeness, something changes. You no longer fall in love to escape yourself. You no longer cling to avoid loneliness. You love because you are already full, and fullness always attracts fullness. So I ask you now, which part of this journey speaks most to you? Do you see yourself in the patterns of lack? Do you recognize the trap of projection? Or are you already taking steps toward individuation and self-love? Leave a comment below, share your story, because your words might be the mirror that helps someone else recognize themselves. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Not because I want more numbers, but because every time you engage, this wisdom reaches someone who might desperately need it. Love today is messy, it's confusing, it's fragile. But Jung reminds us, when you turn inward, when you dare to love yourself enough, the right person doesn't just appear, they resonate. And maybe, just maybe, that resonance begins with you.